And hello everyone, we are here at IWGTC Season 6, Round 6, the final race of Season 6. Holy moly, has this been an interesting season. We have seen so large grid during the season. It has been incredible. So much stuff has been happening. Of course, we decided to change up a few things for next season, which will start in around about 3 weeks, I think. But anyways, before that, we are here in the lovely German mountainside. Well, it's a bit hilly in the background, but, well, compared to the Alps, it's not really mountains. Anyways, enough Germany slander for now. We are here at the Nürburgring, a beautiful racetrack. Of course, we're at the GP track and not at the Nordschleife, because we are an ACC. And I am here today with my co-commentator, finally back again in the commentator seat, Ivano. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Julian. And yeah, as you said, for next season, we're gonna have I believe one of them is going to be a revised penalty system, and also going to be, sadly, as much as we didn't really want to do this, sadly we will also be making this VTuber only for IWGTC. Sim races will still have a home in TRACC, however, as we also have the TRACC GT Open Cup, which will be where the sim races will now be racing, and hopefully we will have a chance to broadcast those races as well coming in the future. But yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yes, it is truly exciting times we are facing, and it's also exciting times because let's take a look at the team standings. We have in first place Who Wants a Soda X Queen's Design Racing with Reska Kyoso and Ruby Acosta leading the way. Well, they basically won the team championship already. They are 191 points. They are 52 points ahead of the second place VM Interplanetary, driven by Albert Gerg. I think that's how you pronounce it. And Victor Masato. I'm still unsure how to pronounce that one Hungarian name, even though I heard him pronounce it in the video he did. Anyways, that video is coming out later today or this weekend. In third place, there's Koneko Racing with Gary Slater and Akito Asasagawa. And they are in a pretty secure third space for now, because behind them is Uma Speed with 107 points, while Hao Yu and Midnight Hurricane take up the ranks there. They are shortly followed, however, by Kurenza X Hikari Racing with Moritz Reiniger and Felix Night Fury 34. This is gonna be an interesting battle to see if those to see who's going to get fourth between those two. Next up, we have Swaggy Racing with Leica Sayas and Amelia Anderson. Well, that would usually be a lineup that would not be surprising if they were championship contenders. However, they are only in 6th position due to some DNSs, I believe. Then we have Gundera Racing with Mark Kame and Panic Fungus, Speed Steady Tune Shop with Charles the 14th and Champ Cholo, Uma Motorsport with Williams Johnson and Kagura Mashiro. Wow, Cross Alliance shirt with Damian Prisupa and Shika Hawken, Vitality Racing Team with iMentrix VT and Timo Fuglistaler. We have Tosfed EAB Racing with Sion KP and Ekibali Borenshensoi, who is not racing today, but is your teammate racing today?
No, he also quit for this race as well, because okay, so here's the thing. He is the latest. He is the driver who's racing the latest. The other Asian drivers, they're racing at like 1, 2 a.m. He's racing all the way down at like 3 a.m. So sadly, he couldn't make it to this race because 2 hours would have been too much even for him. And yeah, sadly, obviously, he's not going to be here with Season 7, but he has signed up for the next season of TRACC GT Open Cup, so he's not going to be completely absent from, the racetrack.
Fair enough. So, that means TDU Solar Club have theoretically a change to make up some places today, although I do not see Leon JHK in the server right now. and Alexander Arthur as well. So I think they don't have a chance in that. Poda Motorsport, however, with AG Radium and Trazione Integrale do. They are currently in 14th position with 16 points, and with Grip Runners with 9 points, Uma Racing with 2 points, and Kanemoto Racing still sadly on 0 points until this race today.
Bad.
Sorry, go ahead.
And speaking of moving positions in the team standings, there is still a theoretical chance that Who Wants a Soda X Queen Design might not be first, because Reska is racing solo this week, today, as Ruby Acosta is just not racing today. I believe they're sick right now, so sadly it's going to be Reska just hoping to bring in some points just to make sure that they can be first in the team standings. Because remember, the IVGTC tradition is that the final round is double points. So if Reska DNFs and if Reska DNFs and say Victor Masato, Albert Judge wins, they could actually get the championship, right?
Okay, let's calculate this through real quick. We have Who Wants a Soda X Queen's Design Racing in first position. They have 191 points. BMX Planetary is 42 points behind. First place and second place. How many points do they give? Do they give 25 and 20 points, or?
Yeah, and the double points means they get 50 for a win.
Oh, right, there's double points today. You are absolutely right. But it still means that Reska Kyosu would have to get a rather finish way in the back.
I mean, considering how chaotic IVGTC has been this season, that's not totally out of the question. Like, she could just be a victim of, traffic, just ending up unlucky with traffic, I'd say, which has happened to a few top runners, I believe, during this season. So I'd say there's still a chance that VM Planetary could just barely nudge out Queen's Design, Who Wants to Soda X Queen's Design on the team standings.
I have to say, however, that is a very interesting prospect, because there's one driver that I would really like to see win a race before this season is over, and that is, of course, Albert Gerg.
Yes. Almost won his home GP before admittedly some caster's curse hit him. Boy, that was...
And I just realized something, and we will be right back. And we are back. I'm sorry for the delay. We had some technical difficulties in the meanwhile. But we have Mark Kame currently on the best qualifying lap. We know that Mark Kame is very quick around this circuit and certainly showing that right now with being 6/10 ahead of Midnight Hurricane.
Yes, from the past, from what we've seen, at least in TRACC GT, I believe right now Mark is the fastest in IVGTC history to run around the Nürburgring. So he knows this track, and obviously he also knows his Aston very well around here. So I think he might run away with it today.
That might very well be the case. However, there are some challenges. We have Midnight Hurricane currently in second position, 6/10 down on Mark Kame's time. And then we have Le Caseas for Swaggy Racing Revival. Look at this beautiful one-off livery they are racing today. It is black gold and it has silhouettes of all of the tracks they won at on the side.
Yes, Casillas is one of the veterans of IVGTC, so it is going to be sad to not see him on the IVGTC grid anymore, but it's going to be fun to just see him around the racetrack and on TRACC GT, so thankfully he's not leaving us forever. And this one-off livery, I will say, is very dashing.
Do you have in mind who made it real quick? It was not Le Caseas themselves.
No, it was Albert who made the livery.
It was Albert Gerg, our unpronounceable Hungarian. Lovely.
Yeah. Albert, I will admit, Albert has just really likes to make liveries. From what I've been able to tell, he has taken up requests from many drivers, at least a few of them that I am aware of, Casillas being one of them, and myself as well.
Ooh, lovely.
Yes, my Porsche was made by Albert. So, yeah.
And as we talk about him, he is in first position now!
Oh!
That is the provisional pole position after half the qualifying session is over for Le Caseas. The half Swiss, half Spanish driver, putting it on provisional pole.
Yes, Casillas getting those times down into the 54.8. Let's see if those times will go lower. There's still enough time for around 4 more laps to be done. So I'd say he might have a chance to maybe lower that even more, but it's going to be very difficult, even according to him. When I was talking to him yesterday about the possible pole times, and he suggested anything below 154 is going to be very difficult and very fast, but obviously very difficult to achieve, even for him. But we'll see, never say never.
As we see Le Caseas reset to pits, and it currently looks like there is a battle coming up for who is gonna be P3 on the starting grid. We have Midnight Hurricane currently holding P3 position and just disconnected from the server, it seems. Then we have Yukari Kagurazaka, who is also driving for UMA. There we go, Hurricane is back. And we have Kagurazaka just even less than 200s behind Hurricane. And we have Reska Kyozo, less than a 10th also off of Hurricane. And also Williams Johnson up in there.
Yeah, this fight for the last spot on the podium seems like it's going to be very tight. But we'll see. Maybe come race time, there'll be some errors made by a few people. I know that Reska can keep his composure very well, but I don't know if... Oh, and... Well, spoke too soon. Reska just goes 3 tenths faster, or 2 tenths faster than his previous time.
There we go. Reska Kyozo starting up the battles. It is getting heated now. We are getting into the last 7.5 minutes of qualifying session. Now the quick times are going to come out for anyone who has, sandbagged up until this point, possibly. Now, also there's someone that I still want to see how they're doing. There's Champ Chulo, who hasn't put in a valid lap so far, and I know they can be quick. Not necessarily challenging for the win quick, but challenging for a very good point scoring position quick.
Yes, Cham has been pretty much a very steady midfield driver and, across the entirety of the races that he has done on Season 6. So, honestly, if he was still allowed to be racing in IVGC, I would say anyone would want him on on their team, because he's just such a solid driver. All can drive good, can drive consistent, and just get into the points.
That is very true. Let's get back, however, back on track. Up ahead, we have Akito Asasagawa currently out on track, being 1.17 seconds behind Le Casillas right at this moment, but only 0.4 behind everyone from P4 onwards. That is not much. Come race day, that might seem like much, but with the slipstream help, it looks like there is a big battle for the possibly P4, possibly even P3 emerging out of the drivers we have accumulated here today.
Yes, I mean, we can talk about the qualifying times as much as we want, but there is one big advantage that the Lexus has across pretty much compared to pretty much everything else on the field, is that thing is very quick on a straight line, and that just gets enhanced up to 11 in the slipstream. So I feel like even if Akito doesn't improve his position in qualifying, I think he has a very good chance of just making those positions up in the race just by straight line speed alone. Even if the car is deemed somewhat low tier by people, apparently.
And keep in mind, we are racing on Nürburgring, which has 2 long straights, followed by an overtaking opportunity. Basically, the best 2 overtaking opportunities are after long straights. So high top speed vehicles like the Lexus, like the Honda, will have good chances today.
Yes, I believe so. But I feel like those. Speaking of the Hondas, they're all obviously going to prove a challenge against Akito's Lexus as well. Because, as you said, they're also very quick in a straight line, but unlike the Lexus, those things can also be very fast around corners, too. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge for Akito to actually make up positions against the Hondas. For the rest of the grid, he might have a chance.
I just mentioned that was a beautiful slide caught there by Akito Asasagawa.
Beautiful.
Lovely.
Smooth as butter.
So, rounding up the top 10 right at the moment is Blanc Ryuzaki with their BMW. There are 4 BMWs currently in the top 10. There's gonna be a battle. Which marquee is doing better? Will it be Honda or will it be BMW? Currently, it looks like more towards the direction of BMW for the overall win. However, there is drivers like Blanc Ryuzaki that can upset that even more. We know they are quick. We haven't seen the best, I believe, and today is a 2-hour race, so there's ample opportunity to get the consistency going in the right direction, and I know Blanc Ryuzaki can be very consistent.
Blanc's consistency is somewhat scary. I mean, this is somebody who can actually somewhat go wheel to wheel with Casillas when it's Blanc's day. They can go toe to toe with people like Casillas. So I think across the 2 hours, if Blanc can find the good rhythm where they don't tire themselves out while also being fast and consistent, I think they have a very good chance of making up a lot of positions, assuming the others, start to fall off as the 2 hours wind down.
That is very true. Before we take a look at people improving, I want to take a look at one more person who I think sadly has fallen a bit from graces from their origins in IVGTC. That is in P11 we have Mirko VR, who used to be a top scoring win potential contender in the race room and early ACC days. Unfortunately not anymore. Recently they have become a mid to higher mid-tier driver amongst our league. But I can just say, I have raced with Merkur VR side by side in the race room days. Merkur is such a clean driver, and it's amazing what they can do when they have their concentration, their consistency going.
Yes, I believe Merkur is still a very fast driver. I think the reason he has kind of fallen down the grid order as the seasons have went on is just because like there's a lot of fast drivers that have come in, you know, and also the people who were already fast became even faster. I think the thing that happened was, because I did see this in our switch to ACC as well, is that Merkur did seem to struggle at the switch from race room to ACC. And I think that might be something he's still kind of struggling with after the 4 seasons that we've run on ACC.
That is true. ACC is a completely different beast than race room. However, someone who has gotten very well acquainted with ACC is Midnight Hurricane, who is currently in provisional pole. Just taken the provisional pole from Le Casillas, just under a tenth ahead of the Swiss driver.
Yes, and we only have a minute in qualifying left. Casillas, I believe, is on a flying run, so if he wants to beat out Midnight Hurricane to pole, it's gonna have to be now. He has to just put it all down, push as hard as he can, and he's on the gravel. Doesn't look like he's gonna be getting that pole position.
Markheim might still be improving quite a tiny bit. However, I don't think they will be challenging for the top position. No, not quite.
Assuming Champ does get out of the way, he might have a chance, but I think Champ is also on a flying run, so...
And Chamchulo still doesn't have a valid lap set. That is not going to be a good qualifying session for Chamchulo. Markheim, however, is currently on par with their best time. They can still improve on this, and they only, in quotation marks, have 1.7 tenths they need to catch up in order to make up positions.
Yes, and I believe Mark does have the speed to actually make up that time. But he has to be quick because this is his last chance. The max wait time has started. This is the final minute and a half on in qualifying. So if he's gonna put in a new personal best, it's gonna have to be now or never. He's gonna have to start in 3rd place if he doesn't make an improvement on this lap.
And I think right ahead of Markheim there is AG Radium as well as Merkur VR, and that might pose a problem as we come towards the end of the racetrack, because well, they are a bit slower and they are also on a flying lap, however. So come the next few corners, let's see if AG Radium is going to get quote-unquote in the way of Markheim, or whether Markheim can try and save a bit of time through these last corners. We go through the fast chicane into the last corner. AG Radium right in front there of Markheim. Markheim having to go a bit defensive there, and unfortunately it did not work for Markheim. However, they cannot be too unhappy. They are starting from P3, basically 2nd row, first line in cinema. Basically they can watch Hurricane and Le Casillas battle unfold, maybe do a bit of tactics from behind, and that is, I think, the biggest hope that Markheim has right now.
Yeah, it was just very unfortunate timing that he caught up to Radium at that specific moment, right on the final corner. And I mean, I can't really blame Radium for this either, because he was also on a flying lap. So it was kind of just like, what do you do in that situation? Do you just let the faster guy go, even if and ruin your own fast lap, or do you stay in and potentially hinder the fast guy's lap? I mean, it's kind of a lose-lose situation.
That is true. So before we get to the race start of this 2-hour race, which of course gives double points, and could enable quite some shuffling of the championship standings afterwards. Let's take a look through the starting grid. We start off in the first line with Hurricane and Le Casillas, followed by Mark Kame, Reska Kyoso, Kagurazaka, Gerg, Johnson, Masato, Asuzagawa, Ryuzaki, Merkovia, Reiniger, Abram, Slater, the 14th, Dubrovka, Chamcholo, Panic Fungus, AG Radium, Felix Night Fury 34, Mentrix, Ryuma Tateyama, and Trazione Integrale rounding up the back.
30 seconds.
Oh god, no. No, please don't. Oh no. Oh no!
Yeah.
20 seconds.
Yep.
Alright, I'm going to pretend that I didn't see that, and I can already tell you Trazione Integrale is not going to get any screen time today. Unfortunate, however... Let's go back to the front. We have Midnight Hurricane, and we have a full formation lap. Enough time to warm up the tires, enough time to get into the groove. One last time to check the track conditions, to check every corner. Do I have memorized my braking markers? Do I have memorized my turn-in points? This is going to be make or break for some people.
This is going to be a very interesting first lap, because there is one thing to consider. Midnight Hurricane has usually been a midfield, top of the midfield-ish driver this entire season that they've been racing with us. So to see them on pole is quite the difference. Let's see if they can actually carry that momentum into the race, because admittedly, Hurricane seems to have this cycle of getting a very good qualifying position and then kind of falling back when it comes to the race. So I don't know if Hurricane will actually hold first place as the race goes on, but I mean, I've been wrong before on my guess, on my assumptions, so maybe I'll be wrong today as well.
One thing is for certain, Hurricane will have to fend off a very racy Le Casillas, who wants to make a strong showing in the last race of IVGTC, as well as Mark Kame right behind it, who probably has the same goal in mind.
Both drivers have been incredibly fast every single race that they've raced at IVGTC, and I'm pretty sure they will want to go out with a bang. Even if they don't win, I'm sure that they will still give us a very good fight between each other.
And before anyone thinks anything bad, I think Le Casillas and Mark Kame can be counted among the cleanest drivers, so it's not gonna be that kind of a bang they want to go out with.
Obviously, we've already known that Casillas and Mark are pretty much the safest drivers, some of the safest drivers that are on the IVGTC grid right now. I mean, personally, we've both had on-track experience with Casillas, and I've had on-track experience with Mark, and I can just confirm they're both very clean. Even if you're getting lap twitch, I mean, okay, maybe you wouldn't. Maybe you wouldn't be, able to think that because you're not slow. I am slow, sadly. So I have been lapped by both of them.
Now, honestly, I have never made the experience of getting lapped so far in an IVGTC or TRACC.eu race for that matter. I am kind of lucky in that regard.
Yeah,
However, not everyone is so fortunate, and we have a 2-hour race today, so there might be much lapping, especially if there is a big disparity in lap times again today, as there is usually. However, we're coming up now to the last corner of the Nürburgring. And onto the start, finish straight. Everyone is lining up. It seems like Midnight Hurricane is a bit ahead of Le Casillas. And Mark Kame is a bit ahead of Reska Kyoso. Kagurazaka also in a very good position. It is green, green, green. And they are starting. It seems like Nobody has a drive-through except for Trazione Integrale way in the back. So the front seems to be unaffected. And let's see, Marquez has the inside. And Lecasea seems to overshoot a little. They are side by side with Midnight Hurricane right now. And they seem to have the inside line in the Mercedes-Benz arena here. There's a yellow flag. Albert Schurz is affected. Kagurozaka is affected. They must be slotting back in further behind now. Back at the front, we have Lecaseas leading the race in front of Midnight Hurricane. And Rescue Kyoso also has taken the position from Mark Kame.
It's been a very good start for Casillas. He got the jump right on the start, sort of really put the pressure on Hurricane as soon as the lights went green, and now he's gotten himself already up into first place. And it looks like Reska as well has passed the mark on the start as well. And it looks,
Little Tals the 14th check. Tals the 14th is in 14th position right now, so that is lovely. Back ahead, let's go to Lecaseas, who is pulling up a lead in front of Midnight Hurricane. It's looking like Lecaseas has a mission right now, is really on a mission to get ahead and away of the closest followers, which are Midnight Hurricane, Rescue Kyoso, and Mark Kame still.
Yes, it looks like Hurricane really got caught off guard by Casillas, and it looks like Hurricane is not really going to be able to process that. There's already pressure coming from Reska right behind, but Reska is also getting pressure from Mark, so let's see how things go. It looks like Hurricane is starting to pull away a little bit from Reska, though. Admittedly, the Hondas...
And there's a yellow flag, there's carnage in the last corner. Moritz Reininger and Victor Masato have touched each other, and they have some troubles getting back into the flow of the racetrack.
Gary Slater gets collected by Moritz Reininger as he was trying to recover his car. That's not good right there.
So thanks to that shuffle, we have Ryuma Tateyama also affected in the back. Little Tals the 14th check, who is caught in a kerfuffle right there. He is now in 13th position again, not in 14th anymore. Not fitting for the brand. We have Panic Fungus, however, who has made up quite a few positions through that. Let us actually take a look. Panic Fungus seems to be the winner of the starting lap with 8 positions made up. However, Moritz Reininger wants to go back up the order and reinstate their place. Oh, they're touching a bit. However, it seems like Moritz Reininger has the upper hand.
Yes, it looks like Panic had been able to just take advantage of all the carnage that has been going on at the starting lap, but it looks like as the field is starting to use, almost hits Moritz Reininger.
That is a good opportunity for Kagurozaka, who obviously had some trouble in the first lap in the Mercedes-Benz arena. And that is a bit much of curbage there, allowing Panic Fungus to immediately catch up to them. And go for an overtake, but very late on the brakes, missing the apex. This allows Kagurozaka to go back through and toss the 14th to challenge Panic Fungus now.
Yes, it looks like Panic Fungus has just misjudged the braking point a little bit, going completely off, and now has to defend against Charles and AG Radium. Right behind them as Charles pulls up on the outside, now has to back out. They come to the S's. Charles gets a little unsettled. They touch! AG Radium off! That is not good. Charles gets loose and collects AG Radium.
Might I just say this is not the day of the Tosh deliveries. AG Radium having a bit of unlucky positioning. Trazione Integrale, of course, with the drive-through penalty now. AG Radium now also entering the pits. Possibly for damage repair.
Yeah, that was very unfortunate. Charles started to get a little loose. I think he got unsettled on the curb there, on the NGK chicane, and then AG Radium. He thought he could just go up up the inside, but Charles just started to slide in and just collect the Radium. Very unfortunate there.
Further up ahead, it seems like Midnight Hurricane has managed to get a bit of an advantage on Mark Kame and Reska Kyozo, as well as Mark Kame having been able to get ahead of the Yellow Alien.
And speaking of getting ahead, Akira Sagawa seems to have made a decent amount of positions. I believe he has made up 4 positions, or... Yeah. 4 positions.
Exactly, 4 positions, starting in P9 now up into P5. This is a person on a mission as well.
Yes, I believe personally Akira is right now driving with all of the frustration from earlier today, as from what I'm aware, Akira, I think, wasn't planning on running IVTC today. He was planning on running the 12 hours of Sebring on iRacing, but very unfortunate events have caused him to just abandon that, sadly. But he's with us here today, and I'm assuming he's using all of that pent-up anger to his advantage right now, using all of that energy to push through the field, as he has done right now with 4 positions gained just 7 minutes into the race.
Another person who is currently on a mission is Albert Görg, who is right on the rear end of Blanc Ryuzaki. Blanc Ryuzaki, of course, also having made up a few positions in the start, it seems, but Albert Görg wants to take up a bit more positions from the American.
Yes, and it looks like Mercury is kind of sneaking by just right behind them. So if Albert is not careful and is not aware of surroundings, Mercury could catch up and maybe do a cheeky pass on Albert and possibly Blanc as well, and assuming they both mess up.
But it seems like Albert is going really carefully right now. You saw there coming into the hairpin at the bottom of the hill. Albert was right on the rear end of Blanc. However, in the braking zone, they brake just that bit earlier in order to avoid anything from happening. Albert Görg, of course, being also one of our very safe drivers here.
Yes, and as they get out of the worst on the curves onto the back, straight down to the Advan Bogan, the Honda NSX does have the top speed advantage. Let's see if Albert's gonna maybe throw it up the inside. He's not going to. I think he just knows there's not really any room for that, especially with the gap that they have right now.
There is one thing I know from personal experience driving around this track, is that the sneakiest overtaking opportunity is actually after the fast chicane. So right there in the last sector, it might not be the best overtaking opportunity, but Albert Görg goes here in T1, goes very wide. However, Blanc Ryuzaki manages to cut back and defend the position after all. Anyways, what I wanted to say is, there are some cars who can take curbs better than others, and if you have one such a car, I think the BMW is one such a car, you can get a sneaky little advantage coming up into the hairpin last corner of the track.
Yes,
So,
the BMW is very stable on the curbs, and pretty much just most front-engine cars as well are just incredibly stable over the curbs, from what I've seen. So yeah, that is one car that can easily take advantage of those.
yeah, if Albert Görg were to overtake, there's ample opportunity for Blanc Ryuzaki to take back the position. Further back in the grid, Taos the 14th Jack, still not in 14th position, still off-brand, but fighting with Panic Fungus in front for 12th position. However, there's also Champ Cholo and Felix Night Fury directly behind in this pack of 4 races.
Night Fury looks like they almost hit the rear of Champ Cholo, just barely avoiding it now. And it looks like Carls and Panic will be able to get away from the pair. The Ferrari is just running away. I'm actually not sure if the Ferrari or if the Mercedes has the top speed advantage. I know that the Mercedes can be surprisingly nimble, but I don't know if it's fast.
One thing I know is that this is the battle for the top Italian space in the rankings. We have 2 Ferraris and of course, the top Lamborghini by Felix Night Fury in this curve off right there. And Felix Night Fury goes for it! Goes past Cianciullo, safe and clean at the end of the straight. It seems like the top speed advantage is with the Lamborghini in this case.
And also, there is another thing. This Lamborghini is also one of those cars that are surprisingly stable over curves as well. So, but I'm still like shocked that Night Fury actually went for that, because those curves are still very steep on that chicane.
They kind of missed the braking marker there into turn 1, and in turn lose a bit of time to Tars the 14th and Panic Fungus right ahead. Seems like all of those are spreading out a bit now. So let's go further down the road where Adrian Dubrovka is currently attacking Ryuma Tateyama into T1. We have the M6 here battling the Nissan. That is a battle of the underdogs. It looks like Adrian Dubrovka very cleanly making that overtake stick in the middle of the Mercedes-Benz arena. Rip runners overtaking.
I believe the BMW does have the grip advantage compared to the GTR, as from my experience, the GTR can be a very unstable car. Oh, Tateyama almost rear-ending Dubrovka there into the braking point. To head down into turn 7. Ooh.
Looks like a bit of trading positions is happening here.
Yeah.
There's a yellow flag for Cianciullo. What happened there? Let's take a look at the replay. 15 seconds. What happened there? Cianciullo, we're coming into the left, right, before the back straight, and Cianciullo just getting it a bit heavy-footed on the acceleration, maybe.
Yes, I think that's what happened as well, as whilst the Mercedes is nimble, the nimble part comes from it having a very sensitive rear end as well. So you gotta be very careful on the throttle when it comes to driving the Mercedes.
Well, if I see this correctly, this is the Evo version. Is that correct?
Yes, that is the Mercedes Evo. The difference between the Evo and the previous generation is that the Evo has a much bigger, a lot bigger front grille, and the rain lights the high beams are also much bigger compared to the previous generation of Mercedes GT3 cars.
However, the biggest difference between the two cars, in my opinion, is the massive amount of torque the Evo manages to put on its rear axle. Which can be too much for some people. I know, from personal experience, it was very much too much for me in the beginning.
Same here. I've tried running the Mercedes. It is a fun car, don't get me wrong, but the torque is just insane.
There's a yellow flag for Panic Fungus. What happened there? Right in front of Tars the 14th. Almost spinning out there into the Schumacher S. What happened there? Let's take a look at the replay. Side by side with Tars the 14th and just touching the two.
Tars just... I can't tell if Tars came across or if Panic came across. But either way, it seems like Panic has just come out the worst. Come out the unfortunate end on that situation there.
The stewards are going to have to look at that. But in the end, Tars the 14th's position didn't change. Still in 13th because Felix Night Fury managed to take advantage of the situation. Now up into P12.
It looks like Night Fury is slowly making up positions one by one. We still have a hour and 45 to go, so there's a chance that Night Fury might make up even more positions. Because from my experience, Night Fury is one of those drivers that seem to qualify low, but end up making positions in the race. At least from my experience with them.
A true Sunday driver it is then, and that bodes well for Lamborghini, who are currently ahead in the battle of the Italian marks right here on the Nürburgring. Further up ahead, we have Mark Kame catching up to Midnight Hurricane. It seems like the battle is continuing to go. And what was that? I think there was an error for Reska Kyozo, because Akito Asagawa managed to overtake right there before the... Right, oh yeah, just getting a bit unsettled there, not able to catch it too well. So having to give up that position right now to Akito Asagawa.
Yeah, that's one of the key things that that is to be said about the M4. Whilst it is a very beginner-friendly car, there's also one issue with it. When you're driving, Albert George is off. Not sure what happened there.
It seems like no fault of anyone else. Oh yeah, just taking a bit too much curbs, getting unsettled.
Yeah, just caught the curb, tried to correct it, and then overcorrect. And now is down to P9.
Anyways, what did you want to say about the BMW?
Okay, so the thing about the BMW is that whilst it is a very beginner-friendly car, it does kind of trick you into pushing more than you should be, because when you're driving the M4, it feels very slow. For some reason, it feels very slow compared to everything else. But it's not slow at all. Like, you could be driving even faster than what you usually would be, but it will feel a lot slower for some reason. I don't know why it's the case with the M4, but it is. So that does kind of cause people to make those errors, and I think it has happened to Reska as well, because that was a very unusual error from Reska. I don't expect Reska to make errors like that.
And there's a yellow flag for Hurricane now. What is happening right now? It seems like Mark came right on the rear, going through the Schumacher, is taking very much curb there. Oh, and the two driving lines just collide.
Mark came in a Hurricane trying to cover off Mark as they came out the Schumacher S. Hurricane just didn't realize how that Mark had already came alongside and just got bumped. I don't know if I can really blame that on Mark came there, because I don't think he was expecting it either.
Did you mean to make that joke right now?
What joke?
Mark meant to came alongside. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for the dad jokes. But we have a new podium right now. Lakers Sayers is still in the lead. However, Mark Kame and Akito Asagawa are also there. Chamchulo, however, seems to be in trouble. Let's take a look at the replay.
Okay, just for the record, I was not even trying to make a joke.
Oh.
I know, just getting unsettled. The thing I said about before, and we were talking about before, the Mercedes just has a lot of torque, so it really likes to slide around.
And it seems like the hood is a bit up, so there is damage on that front end of the vehicle. However, it seems to be for now not enough for Jamchulo to actually go for a pit stop. However, there is a battle right in front of that. There's Tals the 14th getting attacked by Victor Masato in order to reinstate the brand. Tals the 14th, number 14, back in P14.
Let's go!
And Victor Masato is able to make up positions after having a horrible start in the beginning.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Victor Masato there. I believe he qualified around P12.
I think he got caught up in the lap 1 kerfuffle in the Mercedes-Benz arena on the... Yes, I believe that was the case.
Yeah, that would explain it, considering how far down he is right now. Which seems to, sadly these kind of incidents just seem to catch Victor every single time. Now, he just doesn't seem to really be able to catch a break when it comes to incidents happening, and he just happens to end up being a victim of them. I just don't really know what to say about that. Oh! Zagawa going on the outside into turn 1 of Midnight Hurricane. Let's see, Hurricane does break a lot later. And Hurricane's off! Kida makes an easy little pass there as Hurricane makes a mistake of breaking way too late into turn 1. Let's see if
However,
they can attack back though.
this battle of the two VTubers has has allowed for Rescue to already be 2.5 seconds up the road of them, now in a very secure P3 for the moment. Akito Asagawa, however, of course, on a mission to reinstate their previous podium provisional. Further down the road, we have Victor Masato now on the tail of Felix Night Fury. Night Fury going very defensive into turn 1. All of them seemingly hitting the braking marker, no problem. Felix Night Fury now on the inside into the Mercedes-Benz Arena. This is a very good position to have because the next corner is again a left-hander, and Felix Night Fury very much able to keep it in front of Victor Masato for the time being. However, we both know how quick the VM Interplanetary driver can be. Usually they are on a quicker scale than the Lamborghini driver of Felix Night Fury. So it might just be a matter of time, and it might be worth a thing for Felix Night Fury in order to not make their own race any slower than it might be, to just let Masato pass, maybe get a slipstream in order to maybe close the gap at least to Moritz Reiniger, although there is 26 seconds of gap in between them.
Yes, whilst there's a very large gap to Reiniger, there's still a relatively short gap back to Charles. So I think if Night Fury is gonna let Masato pass, if he does decide to let him pass, it's gonna be still advantageous just to put a gap between him and Charles. As Victor Masato tries to go around the outside, the NSX will probably have the advantage down this huge straight as they go side by side, still side by side, going down to the chicane. Victor Masato does have the advantage of being on the inside, but has to back out.
And also there's something I have to mention. It is easy to say when you're on the outside, let that person pass and just follow them, try to get on a quicker lap time. That is not how a racer thinks, especially not during the race. Well, most racers, and this may sound a bit bad now, most racers' strong suit is not logical thinking. But that is not because they don't have the mental capacity. That is because when you are racing, you are fully integrated into the sport. You are one with your car. And there is not much room for strategy to think about, especially in a high-pressure scenario as Felix Night Fury currently is, being that closely followed by Victor Masato, and of course Charles the 14th right behind that as well. So if I say just let that person pass, it's easy to say that, but it's hard to think of that when you are actually out there racing.
So I do kind of agree with that, as that's the one thing that separates the good drivers from the great drivers. As Victor Masato and Night Fury touch a little bit as they go around turn 7. Now going down to the Schumacher crest. It looks like Masato had to back out of it, sadly, from that touch. But the speed advantage of the NSX is going to come in handy once again as Victor Masato looks up the inside, and Night Fury goes a bit wide, and now Charles the 14th comes into the mix as well, going past Night Fury as well. Yes, Charles does get past Night Fury, and now Masato can just run away with it.
This is interesting, because in this scenario right now, Night Fury and Masato both missed their braking point. However, Night Fury missing it just a little bit more, meaning they have to go a lot wider, and Victor Masato being able to capitalize on that. Charles the 14th, of course, being a bit too far back to take both of them, even though they took the braking point quite perfectly for that corner. So interesting to see that even if you make a mistake, it is possible to come out favorably in the end.
Yes, I would agree. And if I had to guess what had happened to Night Fury, I think the thing is, whilst it is still advantageous to defend the inside, which is what Night Fury was somewhat trying to do. It is still gonna. I think what he wanted to do is cover the inside of the next corner at the worst time curve, so you could have a better, a better position down the back straight. But it just couldn't really put it together and just brakes way too late. Overshoots
Sorry,
the corner.
but did Tals just let Felix Night Fury past?
I don't know.
It looked like that. It looked like Tals the 14th just letting a bit off the gas after the Mercedes-Benz arena into the, I believe it was the Castrol S, which is after that.
The map I'm looking at doesn't say.
Fair enough. I believe
And
at some point, at least it was called the Castrol S. Might not be anymore, because Nürburgring is one of those tracks where the corner names change every 2 to 3 months, it seems.
Yeah. Seems like it.
Anyways, further up ahead, we have a battle of 3 cars. We have 2 UMA drivers, Hurricane and Johnson, battling it out, and Blanc Ryuzaki right behind that, taking a look at that. First, well, best position in the cinema, basically, seeing the battle unfold right in front of them. Blanc Ryuzaki.
Yes, I would say this is one of the key strengths of Blanc is that they can just sit back, let people fight each other instead of joining the fight and then just casually sneaking on by when they start to get a little bit over aggressive and start to slow each other down. That's like one of the let's say Johnson taps Hurricane there, I believe.
And this is the chance that Blanc Ryuzaki has been waiting for. On the outside into the Schumacher S, being able to overtake Midnight Hurricane. Now up a position, and it looks like Merco VR is also pounding on Hurricane right now. It seems like... Oh, but I'm getting a little bit unsettled in the middle of these 2 corners right there. The battle is, however, still very much on as Hurricane in turn gets unsettled onto the straight.
Yes, it looks like it seemed like Hurricane was going to be able to hold the position as Merker got a bit unsettled in the worst time on the approach to the worst time curve, but it looks like Hurricane got unsettled as well on the exit of the worst time curve. So it ended up with Merker being on top at the end, regardless.
Go a little bit further back, Tals the 14th, Jack still in 14th position, the number 14 driver. However, hot on the heels of Felix Night Fury 34 right now. And they are coming up onto the back straight with a little kink in the middle, which is a good position to get the slipstream building, possibly go out of the slipstream at the end of this straight into the fast chicane, because we're driving, of course, the fast chicane layout here. Tals the 14th Constantinaing almost into the back of Felix Night Fury 34, managing to get it stopped, however. Night Fury very wide now in the last corner, and Tals the 14th being able to cut a closer line. Now it is back in the same position they was on the back and straight. However, it seems like the top end of the Lamborghini is a bit better. Tals the 14th still Constantinaing right in the rear of Felix Night Fury, not touching, very closely not touching. But this seems like a strong battle, and of course one that is allowing Victor Masato ahead of them to get away. And we have a yellow flag for Midnight Hurricane, who is turned around on the racing line.
Oh, that's a very sketchy, and it's spin again. Let's see what happened.
Losing it alone, it seems. Yeah, just braking too late for the corner and getting stopped in a very sketchy position. Luckily got out of the way without a problem, without getting anyone else caught up in it. However, sadly losing, what was it, 2 or 3 positions in the course of that.
2 positions, yes. Kagurazaka and Albert Jörg has passed Hurricane. It looks like Hurricane is coming into the pits.
Oh yeah, true. I I don't know if they're going for a two-stop strategy or what the plan is here, because obviously with these cars, they usually have a stint time of about an hour, so you would only need to stop once for fuel and maybe probably tires as well. So this might just be for damage. Possibly they have caught some damage at an earlier point in the race, and it seems like they think they got unsettled due to the damage. That is my possible explanation for this situation.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe that collision with Mark could have started to maybe develop a bit on the car. I wouldn't really know. I don't know if that's really a thing on ACC, developing damage.
I don't know as well. I don't know if that's simulated. That is an interesting question to be posed, however. It would be nice if it's simulated. However, this whole situation with Hurricane led to Tals the 14th being off-brand in P13 again. Hot on the heels of Felix Fury. Still, the battle for P12 now is hot in its tracks.
Yes, those that have been now battling for lap after lap after lap. It's just going to be a matter of who's going to get tired first. At this point, it really is just going to be a matter of endurance and who can really handle the pressure of defending and who can actually handle the pressure of attacking. Because there is still some form of pressure when attacking as well. I know Charles touches Nightfear, but thankfully lets him keep position. But that was just very sketchy there, almost.
You know, earlier when we watched them, like a lap or two ago, I said that Tals kept on Constantine almost into the back of Night Fury 34. At this point, it happened. I was afraid of it, and it happened. I didn't speak it out loud, so it doesn't count as a commentator's curse.
We'll decide on that later.
Okay, fair enough. Further up ahead, we have Blanc Ryuzaki following Williams Johnson right now. It seems like Mirko VR has lost the drive a bit, has lost the slipstream range. There we go, from Blanc Ryuzaki, who is managing to make up positions. We said before, this driver is a beast when it comes to consistent driving. As long as there is nothing from the outside hindering them, there's almost no way of stopping them from getting a good position. And it seems like they have their sights now hot on Williams Johnson, who's driving the same car. So it is basically a matter of setups as well as skill difference, possibly in different situations between the two drivers. But I think those two drivers are quite on an even footing when it comes to raw pace.
I believe on certain tracks, Williams is faster than Blanc Ryuzaki, but it seems like around the Nürburgring they are very much on par with one another. So it seems to be coming down to who can maybe manage their tires or their fuel the best, it seems like.
Okay, and as I just realized, we have hit the half-an-hour marker of the race, so let us take a look at the standings right now. In first position, we have Le Casillas getting the first back markers right now. Then we have Mark Kame in second position, 4 seconds down the track. Further 8.5 seconds down the track, we have Raska Kyozo currently in third position. Akito Asasagawa following rather shortly in fourth. Williams Johnson a bit further down the line in fifth, followed closely by Blanc Ryuzaki and Mirko VR. Kagurazaka is in 8th position. 3 seconds down is Albert Jersch. Then quite a ways down is Reiniger, who is a bit alone right now, 14 seconds ahead and 30 seconds behind. Victor Masato in 11th position. Night Fury 10 seconds behind Masato, and Tals the 14th right hot on their heels. Champ Cholo is in 14th. Panic Fungus is in 15th. Adrian Dubrovka in 16th. Oh, Adrian Dubrovka now in 16th. Yeah. got overtaken. Panic Fang is right there. Midnight Hurricane in 17th. Gary Slater in 18th. iMentrix in 19th. Trazione Integral in 21. AG Radium in 20. Oh, yeah. Seems my overlay hasn't updated yet. Tatiyama in 22. And Icer Ambra in 23rd position. Further up ahead, we have Blanc Ryuzaki still hot on the heels of Williams Johnson, the two BMW drivers. It looks like this is a BMW day. In the top 6, we have 4 of the Bavarian Marks cars. All of them the M4 variants.
It looks like the BMW seems to have the home track advantage around here, and it seems to show with the pace.
Quite honestly, the home track advantage would be on a Porsche.
Oh yeah, true, because Porsche pretty much dominates everything around the Nürburgring, doesn't it?
Well, more like Porsche is from Stuttgart, which is closer to the Nürburgring than Munich, which is where BMW is from.
Okay. But I went off from a statistical standpoint again.
Fair enough. Technically, the home track for BMW would interestingly be the Norris Ring.
Oh. Well, honestly, I would not mind having Norris Ring in ACC. If we actually do get a DTM pack, which honestly I don't see happening because this is the International GT game, but still, there's International GT teams that run the DTM, so I guess that could be another reason. So we can have Norris Ring, maybe Saxon Ring.
I am afraid we are not going to get any DTM pack anytime soon or at all, because it used to be like that. That SRO, which of course is the racing organization that has all of the racing series that are in ACC and so on, used to be involved with ADAC GT Masters. However, ADAC GT Masters is either in the process or have merged with DTM, leaving it to be the complete DTM, and I believe they are not anymore doing anything with SRO together. So any chances for these German GT tracks, as well as the Red Bull Ring, for example, unfortunately gone, I believe.
So it's just a matter of whether Gerhard Berger will sell to SRO the DTM series. I think that's pretty much the only way we're gonna get a DTM pack in ACC.
I think the better way is just to wait for Assetto Corsa 2, which is set to release in about a year.
Yes, I mean that's the planned release. It is the first quarter of 2024, but that is the planned release. And if big game developments have shown us in the past that they usually never, as Merker spins and has a bit of an unsettled moment there in the background. Kurosaka is now side by side. It seems like the damage hasn't really affected Merker all that much, but it still has allowed Kagerozaka to catch right back up, and now the speed difference should come in very soon between the R8 and the NSX as they head into turn 7. Both of them getting a relatively clean exit. Kagerozaka taking a much more curve as they head into the Schumacher S.
However, yeah, Merker VR having lost 5 seconds in that kerfuffle. Now, not on the tracks of Blanc Ryuzaki anymore at the moment. But yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing about the R8. It is somewhat... It's a very intermediate car. It is somewhat beginner friendly, but it is also so more catered towards a more advanced driver, which Merker is a relatively good driver, but it still can catch off even the best drivers, as it does have a habit of getting unsettled easily when you're pushing hard on it.
So let us quickly take a look at the fastest laps of the race that we had so far. Of course, Le Casillas is leading that charge, having done a 1:55.360 in racing conditions. Second, however, on the timing is, unsurprisingly, Mark Kame with a 1:55.77. However, third case is where it gets interesting. That is actually Midnight Hurricane with a 1:55.84. So just shy of being on the single lap pace Mark Kame and Le Casillas. Unfortunately, however, due to different circumstances that we elaborated earlier in the race, not able to keep up the pace overall, because it is very much, well, we are racing for 2 hours. It is very much important to keep a consistent race going, rather than having one lap pace at the moment.
And it looks like Hurricane really did spend a lot more time in the pits than I had thought, as Reska and Akito are right behind Hurricane there. And assuming they catch up, Hurricane will have to give up the position as they are being lapped.
That is very true. They will have to give up the position should they be caught. And Chanchullo seems to go into the pits. Maybe the damage has finally caught up to them. Maybe they can go for 1 hour and 15 minutes on a single fuel tank. I'm not too sure about that with the AMG, but I wouldn't rule it out completely.
He does seem to chug fuel relatively considerably, but maybe Chanchullo might mess around with the engine maps to extend it just that little bit longer, because the tires can go an hour and 18. I already know, the tires can easily go an hour and 18 if you're taking care of them. The fuel, not so much. But
yeah,
we'll see.
that is true. I think tires, if kept well, can even go for 2 hours. I speak from experience there, but that is, you have to really drive a bit more carefully than you would usually do. Having this situation, since we have a fixed pit time, taking tires is basically not a problem. Chanchullo seems to have their car fixed now. The front is
quick fix.
Yeah, the front is not buckled anymore. This seems like, do we have fixed pit time? This seemed like less than 30 seconds to me.
No, it was 30 seconds.
It was 30 seconds. Okay, so they might as well have taken tires then.
They came into the pit. The pit cycle started at 1 minute 18:28, and it ended in like 18:50. So yeah, it was a 30-second pit stop.
Okay, and Chanchullo slots in 40 seconds behind a three-way battle for P15. Panic Fungus being followed by Adrian Dubrovka and Gary Slater. And right behind them are a few front markers looking to get past without too much trouble. But you know, when you're fighting in the back, it's tough letting people by. We're blue flagging you.
It really is kind of a difficult situation. William Johnson just sent it up the inside of Gary Slater. It's not like Gary's really going to be fighting it, but that did seem a bit sketchy to just throw it up the inside. Yes,
honestly,
getting lapped, but
it looked to me like Gary Slater obviously capped it on the outside for the turn in order to let Williams Johnson take the inside. Maybe they even indicated to the left. And there's a drive-through for one of the front runners, Akito Asugaba.
It's a drive-through. It
must be for track limits.
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, he hasn't really done anything else, I don't think. He's just been driving normally, and is actually caught up a lot to Reska now. But I don't think passing Reska is really gonna matter at this point, because Akito will have to serve the penalty in 3 laps.
This is going to be a damper for the charge of Akito Asugaba. Of course, Okay, I'm trying to think right now. How much time would a drive-through penalty on the Nürburgring take? I'm hazard of guess, 20 to 25 seconds.
I mean, the pit lane is not that long.
Yeah.
So it should be around 20 seconds, which would allow, I believe, up to Kagura Zaka So if Akira does have a penalty now, they'll come out, I think, just around or just behind Kurosawa.
Yeah, that would lead for them to be directly in the battle, maybe even with Kagurazaka and Merkur VR, who are pretty much right behind each other on track, who have just overtaken the back markers there, it seems, of Panic Fungus, followed by Gary Slater and Adrian Dubrovka.
Panic Fungus doing a little bit of mining into the asphalt there for a second. Got a lot of ping.
The Germans love the work efficiency. When you can race, why not do a bit of mining too as well?
Hey, I don't think asphalt is that cheap. Might as well recycle some, right? Now as they go almost 3 wide, Gearslater looking around the outside, has to back out of it. As they go into the Mercedes arena, Panic Fungus keeping position. The Broca seems to have kind of caught up right up the Gearslater.
Oh, but Panic Fungus very wide!
Very wide. They're completely missing the breaking point now. Now behind both Gearslater and Adrian Dubrovka. Well, that's not gone well. Ow.
And this now looks a bit bad for Panic Fungus, who again has a yellow flag going wide and spinning out on the grass.
Oh, that is not good. I believe Panic's tires were still dirty after going wide, and I believe they did go a bit into the gravel there. And yeah, I think that looks like dirty tires.
Might very well be. That is
Yeah.
true. Let's take a look further up ahead. Akito Asasagawa is coming up to the pit entry. Are they going to take their drive-through right now, or will they wait for one more lap? Now they're taking it right now. Let's see where they come out.
That entry looked a bit fast. I think Akira might get bopped by...
Woo!
But that was interesting, just casually passing Tetuyama there, going into the pits. But yeah.
That sure is interesting. However, Akito Asasagawa seemingly stopping right before the 50 kilometers an hour mark there. Let's see, Williams Johnson's passing. Ron Ryozaki should be following shortly. There is Merkur Kagurazaka. Oh, this is even worse than we thought for Akito Asasagawa. Albert Josh. There's Gary Slater, backmark, and Adrian Dubrovka. And this seems to be Albert Josh there, I think.
Yeah, that is Albert Judge coming out just in front of Akito there. So now Akito has a lot of ground to recover. There's still an hour and 12 minutes left. So there's a chance that, assuming Albert and Kagurazaka and Merkur and Blon and Williams mess up, or just have a bad pit stop cycle, which could happen. They might also get bopped with a drive-through, maybe for speeding or an SG30. So there's still a lot of time for mistakes to happen, even to the front runners, because let's be honest, those penalties are, not going to be void from the top runners to be getting.
Can we agree on one thing? That drive-through was pretty well executed by Akito Asasagawa. But I think we could say there was an exemplary drive-through. It lost them about... We were not far off with our estimates. About 28 to 30 seconds lost for the drive-through.
Spun a little bit there behind Akito.
I don't see any yellow flags, so...
Oh well.
Anyways, this Task 14 is now a yellow flag.
Oh. I think...
Let's see, trying to go for an overtake on Felix Night Fury, braking a bit early, but...
letting go.
Ooh.
Yeah, letting go of the brakes there. It seems like Charles braked early, let go, and then started braking again. You don't want to do that, especially into turn 1 at Nürburgring. That slope is a lot steeper than it looks, so letting go of the brakes and then braking again, you're just going to be going straight off.
And unfortunately, I have sad news. It seems like Task 14th has disconnected from the server. So we are not going to continue to check up on Taster 14's P14 progress anymore. Sad. Further up ahead, we have Akito Asakawa now on the rear of Albert George.
I might have a bit of a feeling because Albert and Akito are kind of on pace when it comes to track time, I believe, right now. So they might not fight, but they could possibly work together to close up the gap between each other and Kagurazaka and eventually the rest of the grid as well. I have a feeling they could do that because Albert and Akito are very smart drivers. I'm sure that they're both relatively aware that they're both pretty much on similar pace, so it would be advantageous to just catch up to the rest of the front runners rather than just fight each other and lose even more ground to them. But it doesn't seem like Akito wants to do that, as he goes around the outside onto turn 10. Oh! Albert just tapping the rear of Akito into turn 10, and oh, that's a very sketchy. That's a very sketchy join. The Broken and AB are just barely avoiding Akito as he gets back onto the track. That is not going well. Albert Giorgi, I believe Albert kind of misjudged his braking point, or maybe Akito turned in a bit earlier than he should have.
Let's not make any assumptions. This will be looked at after the race by the stewards.
Yeah.
One thing we can look at, however, right now is the front runners. Mark Kame has caught up to Le Casellas and is now 3/10 behind the Swiss.
There's a very unusual loss of pace there for Casellas. There was around a 4-second gap between him and Mark Kame, and suddenly that has come down all the way down to just 3/10. But then again, Mark Kame is very, as we mentioned before, Mark Kame is the current lap record holder for IVGTC around Nürburgring. So I guess it's not too surprising for Mark to have caught up, but still very fast progress considering that gap was over almost 4 seconds long.
You still know the qualifying times these people did put in?
I believe Mark Kame was a 1. I think it was a. Mark Kame was 54.9. Yeah, 54.9. Casillas was a 54.8, and then Hurricane got pole with a 54.7, but has fallen off a lot due to the pit stop, especially.
In that case, the previous lap record for Nürburgring on TRACC.eu races has been beaten, because the previous record was 155.155. So in qualifying, it seems like everyone got quicker since that last time. Mark Kame, especially now, looking rather racy as they go past Ryuma Tateyama.
It looks like neither Casillas nor Mark really had any issues navigating around Tateyama. They're still very much on each other's bumpers right now. Casillas has to start feeling the pressure from the Aston.
And it seems like we have our first, possibly of the regular pit stoppers. Albert George is now in the pits, and Felix Nightfury had a yellow flag there for a second. But Albert George now in the pits, going for the regular pit stop. Back to Mark Kame, who is still hot on the heels of Le Casellas.
There's Mentrix right there in front of them. Let's see if both of them can get passed through safely. And it looks like yes. Oh,
Mentrix slotting in very closely behind Mark Kame there.
Yeah, that was very close there. But Mentrix is a very safe driver. In recent history, especially, Mentrix is a very safe driver. So thankfully, nothing happened.
Ooh, but Mark Kame hitting the curb!
Mark Kame losing all of that ground. As he just hops the curb, goes a little bit airborne there, and loses ground, or loses over a second to Casillas.
1.5 seconds almost even. This is not the charge, the end to the charge that Markheim has been hoping for. However, we're still racing for over an hour, so there will be ample opportunity for Markheim to catch up, back up. Kagurozaki, in the meanwhile, catching up to Ryuzaki on the merit of them going into the pits for their regular pit stop, presumably. Now is going to be the interesting time. Where are people slotting back in? Will they be slotting back in with much slower drivers? Will they get held back? This is pretty much the strategy heavy part of the race, but pretty much everyone will be going into the pits in the next, let's say, 10 minutes.
10 minutes, depending on if they've been running on low engine maps to save a bit more fuel. And there's also the case of maybe pitting too early, because 104 feels a little early. I feel like if you're gonna pit, you want to pit just like right on that sweet spot of just an hour left. 104 feels a couple laps too early, at least to me.
I think on normal fuel map, you can go for at least 1 hour and 10 minutes on a full tank in most cars.
The BMW is one of the more fuel-efficient cars, as far as I am aware. So it should be able to do the 110.
In that case, Blanc Ryuzaki, let's see if this was a masterstroke of strategy, trying to undercut the entire rest of the field. Akito Sasagawa also now in the pits, a bit, scuffed that front end. Let's see if they're going for repairs as well.
Seems like it.
Not quite. I don't think so.
I guess it's just simple scratches around here and there. Not big enough damage for Aki to really consider repairing it. They come out of the pits. Obviously, the drive-through has hindered them a lot as well. They're very out of position at the moment. But we'll see if the pit stop cycles will allow Aki to catch up to a few people. This is also one of the things. Oh, William Johnson pits.
Williams Johnson pitting, Felix Night Fury. It seems like everyone is coming in the next few laps. Markheim, however, again, already back on the rear end of Le Casillas within almost half a second right now.
I'm starting to think Casillas might be running on a lower fuel map, or like a lower engine map, because Mark caught up very fast. Mark closed that 1.5 second gap very quickly, so I'm guessing Casillas has to be trying to save fuel.
Well, Markheim was almost an entire second quicker in the last lap. There might be something to that.
Yeah. I think Casillas is just trying to maybe minimize as much time as possible in the pits, because I believe tires plus fuel does add up to more than 30 seconds.
No, that happens at the same time. However, if you're in first position and you have the option to go for that, why not? As we see Le Casillas pulling into the pits right now, pretty much for a spot on half distance splash. Well, not splash and dash, but splurt into the pits.
Yeah, it looks like Casillas might try to just, I don't know what I'm thinking actually. Might try to go for an overcut, maybe come out maybe faster or earlier. Or even further ahead than Markheim, when Markheim comes in to do his pit stop.
Ryuzaki, in the meanwhile, is on a mission after already having done their pit stop, which of course today is not technically mandatory, but you cannot race for 2 hours on one set of fuel. So, Ryuzaki now really close, catching up to Victor Masato quite rapidly, but Albert George is right behind the two. So, there might be potentially a bit of teamwork there by VM Interplanetary.
Yes, there's a good chance that Blonde might just be in this awkward little sandwich where Victor might slow down as AJ letting them all pass in an interesting way.
I just realized, yeah, you're completely right. Blanc Ryuzaki is in an interplanetary sandwich, but trying to break out of it right now as they go side by side on the back straight, cutting across the curb, however, causing them to lose a bit of the top speed and causing Albert Josh to attack. However, not able to get enough side by side for the fast chicane, that's what it calls, and Victor Masato pulling into the pits.
Yeah, it looks like it looks like Blanc tried to stay side by side, just go over the curb, but that curb is very, very steep. So it just scrubs a lot of speed the moment you take it. As Albert is right on the rear bumper of Blanc Ryuzaki going around the Mercedes arena now. They have to be very careful on the brakes around these corners. The exit is very crucial out of turn 4. They've got a very similar exit. It looks like Blanc got a little bit of a better exit as the gap is slowly forming as they head down to turn 5.
One thing very interesting coming up, however. We have Mark Kame and Reska Kyozo in the pits now. Let's see, where is Le Casillas? Currently on the back straight. Is Mark Kame moving? When is Mark Kame moving? Le Casillas coming into the fast chicane right now. Mark Kame is not moving yet. Le Casillas coming around the last corner. Coming onto the start finish straight, and Mark Kame is moving. Who will have the better of the pit window? It looks like Mark Kame out quite a bit. Oh, 1.5, 2 seconds there, I reckon.
Mark Kame doing, I believe that is an overcut. I think.
Over, under, left, right, who cares? Mark Kame is currently provisionally in the lead out of the pit stoppers. However, this leaves Yukari Kagurazaka. I put the wrong initial letter on the last name. That never happened to me. Anyways, Kagurazaka is now in first place provisionally. However, they still have to pit. Ryuma Tateyama getting there quite safely out of the way, thankfully. And Reska Kyozo quite alone right now. About 7 seconds behind Reiniger, who is in turn 6 seconds behind Le Casillas and Mark Kame. Now Reska Kyozo looking like being 13-14 seconds behind the lead duo. Do you think Reska Kyozo has already accepted that they're not getting PU2 or P1?
I believe so, because the gap is very, very wide. I don't think, unless Mark and Casillas come together, I don't think Reska is really going to be catching up to either of them, as it's like Kagurazaka is now coming into the pits alongside Merkur as well.
This is going to be an interesting pit stop. They were right beside each other. Is there anyone who got the upper hand in this pit stop? As we see, further back, we have Gary Slater also coming into the pits. And Le Casillas catching up to Mark Kame right now. Being very close to him, actually.
Yes, it's gonna be a case of Casillas and Mark fighting very, very hard for Reska to have a chance to catch up to them. But that would also require Reska to start putting in incredibly quick lap times, which Reska, I believe, is capable of doing.
And it seems like Merkur got the cut on Kagurazaka. Merkur coming out a good few seconds in front of them.
Yeah, it looks like maybe Kagurazaka took in a bit more fuel, or maybe they were fixing body damage.
That might be. However, it looks like Le Casillas is currently very racy, going side by side into the outside on the bottom of the hill hairpin, which I swear had a name.
I'm looking at like every map, and the thing is, you are correct. It has a different name.
Yes.
Every map that I'm looking at.
Yes! It used to be the Dunlop hairpin, I believe, at some point.
Yeah, I believe so. This is why I kind of just stopped calling them the names and just calling them numbers. At least the numbers are permanent.
That is true. Numbers are permanent.
Yeah.
Well, except for the eventual remodel that will probably never come. But yeah. Anyways, Nicosea's right on the heels of Mark Kame. Constantinaing together on overshooting there on the chicane. Not losing too much time, however, to Mark Kame. Yet, I believe this was a very possible scenario for a track cut warning for Nicoseas.
Yeah, I think Casillas wasn't expecting to come out behind Mark there after the pit stop cycle. I guess Mark might have just found those few tenths just barely enough to end up on his lap, as Casillas came in to just barely pass him when he was doing his own pit stop cycle there. And it looks like it has paid off.
A bit further down the road, we have Kagurazaka fighting with Ryuzaki and Albuquerque right behind them. This trio is battling for P6 right now.
Yep. These three, I believe, are very consistent drivers, all three of them. So it's just going to be a matter of who is going to feel the pressure first, or who is going to get caught up in the traffic.
Just talking from experience of IVGTC drivers we have seen in the past, Kagurazaka might be the most dark horse in that regard, because we don't know too much about them. We know Blanc, Ryuzaki and Albert Gersh well enough. However, Kagurazaka hasn't taken part in too many races. So
Kagurazaka is one of the many Yuma drivers who came into the IVGTC this season.
I
And
think
they have
Kagurazaka
all-
being one of the most recent of their signings in that regard.
Yes, I believe they came in round 4. I think. Can't be sure, as that is Competizione, a bit wide, but has to let Blonde through. Okay, that's Blonde and almost collects Albert there, but thankfully nobody gets tagged by the Bentley. As Albert goes side by side with Blonde into turn 10. Albert turns a bit too much, and thankfully that BMW is built like a wall as they touch a little bit, but that neither of them losing any bit of time as they're now heading down the back straight.
On the Honda, it has the slipstream advantage, it has a top speed advantage, but has it the advantage on the braking into the chicane? It doesn't seem like it. Ryuzaki in the BMW, simply defending the position. Well, maybe not that simply, but managing to make it stick. As we see Chamcholo on the side pulling into the pits.
I will say one thing, that BMW has incredible brakes, so that thing is almost perfectly built for defending, because it is heavy, so you're not going to get caught up in any dirty plays. It's also a front engine, which makes it very stable, and like I said, incredible brakes and just very stable. It's like the perfect defender's car. For a defensive driver, that thing is your dream. That thing is just a dream setup.
Or in the case of Albert Gersh, it is the nightmare that is not overtakeable right at this moment. And it seems like there has been a bit of an error by Le Casillas right now. He was right on the heels of Mark Kame, however now a second behind. And cutting hardly. Oh, well, hardly. Cutting very harshly across the last corner curbs there.
Yeah, I have no idea what caused this big gap to form between Mark and Casillas, but it seems to have ignited something in Casillas to start driving this hard. Pretty much taking every inch of the track as he can by the looks of things, trying to catch back up to Mark.
Meantime, let's take a look further down. We have Gary Slater following Felix Night Fury. And it seems like we have lost a few more drivers, Station and Tigrana, if one of them not anymore in the race. As well as Rima Tateyama.
It might be server issues once again. I'm not sure as it goes off the track. I believe that is Hurricane just barely avoiding Akito there. What happened?
Let's take a look at what happened. Akito. Oh! It's getting
sliding
a bit...
off the line. Oh! Hitting the wall there and very risky rejoin. Almost cutting off Hurricane there.
But unsurprisingly, they head into the pits directly to get another repair done. Let's take a look. How does the front of that car look?
That thing, I believe that thing is very, very damaged. That looked like a heavy shunt.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, this does not look like a healthy front.
Yeah, that bumper is hanging off there. I'm surprised it's not scraping the ground right now. But that was a very... That's the thing about the Lexus, is that whilst it is very fast, it can also be very unstable especially on corner exits. So even on such a tame, rather tame curve as that one, on the exit of turn 10, it still caught Akito off guard and just completely slides right across the track and into the guardrail. Very unfortunate.
Akito Suzukawa therefore cannot take a break today, it seems, from unfortunate scenarios. Another person that cannot take a break for a whole different reason is Le Casillas, because, of course, this is the last race of IVGTC where non-VTubers, aka sim racers, are allowed to participate. Arcane and Le Casillas battling for the honor of the last non-VTuber win, potentially. And Le Casillas, of course, now having to catch up, being almost a second, or just about a second behind Mark Kame at this moment.
Yes, it is a very... right now, both of those guys are racing as hard as they can for that final win that they will have in IVGTC. A series that they have both poured countless of hours into to be on the top level, just be on the top level of this series. Especially Casillas, considering how long he's been with us. I believe Casillas was with us all the way back in season 2. So he has been around the track with us for a good while.
I think I do remember racing Le Casillas in the race room days.
Yeah, I think I don't remember what he was driving back then. But I remember him being in the race room days. So yeah, he is now just trying to get that one final win. And Mark Kame is also trying to get that one final win as well. Both of them sim racers, both of them very talented drivers in their own rights. Trying to finish off with a bang, as I've said multiple times before now. They have built a massive gap.
That is true. 20 seconds behind is a person in P3, Reska Kyoso. But looking at this, it does kind of feel like a bit of an upset, Mark Kame being right now in P1. Simply because we have Le Casillas, who is our current reigning champion of the IVGTC. We have Le Casillas, who has won so many races the past few seasons. Mark Kame never really being on that level, except for here at the Nürburgring.
Yeah, whilst Mark Kame is a very fast driver, a very frequent podium setter in the races that he has been with us, he has never really won, unlike Casillas. Casillas really has that dominance the dominant case on every other track except the Nürburgring. The Nürburgring being the one place where Mark has been able to edge him out. And it is showing as that gap is staying at 1 second. 1.1 rather.
But both of them pushing to the limit. Both of them are currently on an invalid lap because they are pushing so hard in order to make the track limits just about stick. They do not quite manage it, which means they're a bit above the limit right now. They really both 100% want this win.
Yes, it looks like both of them are pushing very hard, and I wouldn't be shocked if they have both overheated their tires, because Mark Kame's last lap was a 156.5, almost a whole second slower than their best lap. So it is fair to say that both of them are pushing very hard right now. Those cars also do not look clean at all anymore. There's a lot of dirt, especially on Casillas' car. So those things have been cutting the track wherever they could. And another example there, just Mark's side skirts completely covered in dirt and grass. Just both these guys taking every bit of the track and then even more of it. And then some. Just pushing as hard as they can. It's incredible racing, honestly.
It is. And another person that is currently pushing it to the limit is Kagura, who is catching up to Merkur, who in the beginning I said was kind of disappointing how they have fallen from grace, fallen from pretty much a constant podium position in the race room days to being a mid to front runner in ACC. But today seems like Merkur is back on track with their former self. Now battling it out for P4 against Kagura.
It looks like this season Merkur has kind of finally gotten to the hang of ACC, especially this season, considering back at Hungaroring, Merkur was also a very fast front runner at that race as well.
They come up to Trazione Integrale there.
Very sketchy. Oh, Merkur is spinning! Merkur catches the spin but loses the position to Kagura. I think Trazione being in the way of traffic, and there's Mentrix going off the track. I think Trazione being in the way kind of might have unsettled Merkur there a little bit.
Okay, I'll take this upon me as a commentator's curse. This one,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Before anyone says anything, I'll take the 100% the blame for this.
Yeah, you said it, I just reinforced it. I think we just kind of actually did a double whammy. But boy.
No, who else can we... No, let's don't.
Let's make the top 3 race a bit more interesting.
No, let's not force it. Let's not force it. There are 2 very strong frontrunners right now. However, further behind we have Albert Jörg, who is now pushing to catch up with Blanc Ryuzaki. They have been battling before, and it seems like they are at it again now in the later stages of the race, finding themselves on the track next to each other again, or still even.
Yeah, I don't think they really separated all that much. Aside from their pit cycles, which Blanc came in a lap earlier than Albert did. But before and after that, they've been pretty much just on each other this whole race. As I said before, they're pretty much very, very similar in terms of just overall race pace. William Johnson as well, who was right behind them as well, sneaking around behind them, around 1.8 seconds behind Albert Judge.
Yeah, so there might still be a big battle for P6 coming up. Possibly if they even catch up to Merkur in front, there might be a battle for P5 on the line. We will see about that on a later stage. However, 2/3 of the race are now just about done, so let us take a look at the standings right now. We have Mark Kame in the lead, directly followed by Leikaseas. Reska Kyoso in a pretty safe third position right now. Kagurazaka 30 seconds behind that. Merkur is in P5, Blanc Ryozaki in P6, Albergersh in P7, and Williams Johnson in P8. They are all quite close to each other on track. Midnight Hurricane is 30 seconds behind that in P9. 2.4 seconds behind that is Moritz Reiniger. Victor Masato is in P11. Akito Asagaba currently in 12th after having to do 2 pit stops for damage and presumably as well tires and fuel. Gary Slater is in 13. Felix Night Fury in 14. Chamchula in 15. Adrian Dubrovka in 16. Imentrix is in 17. Iser Ambra is in 18, and Trazione Integrale is the last of our races that are still on track. Mark Kame, however, having to defend now from Leikaseas. It's only 0.5 seconds between those two. Leikaseas is edging ever closer, both of them keeping invalidating their laps, endangering themselves to potentially getting a drive-through towards the end of the race if they, as well as invalidate, also carry those, what's it called, track limit warnings that the game gives away. Of course, you can get 3 track limit warnings, and the 4th warning you get is a drive-through. We have already seen Akito Asasagawa being forced to do such a feat today. Oh, and this was a hot spot there. Leikaseas invalidating the lap on the exit there of the Mercedes-Benz Arena, which I can say from personal experience, as they almost touch, is a hot spot for collecting those track limit warnings.
Yeah, I would talk more about track limit warnings. Casillas go around the outside. They're rubbing each other just side by side, door to door. As Casillas has to back out, I believe they rubbed a little bit there. As Casillas tried to go around the outside. Mark Kame keeping the position as they go through the Schumacher rest, going up into turn 10 now. Casillas still right on the rear of Mark Kame's Aston Martin V8 Vantage. That both of these guys are very fast. They've been on each other's bumpers this whole race, past the hour and a half that we have been commentating. These guys have not let each other go. As there's Albert Gerg spinning out. Not sure what happened there. So he was getting off the curb, going very wide. It's unsettled and just loses it. I mean, hey, style points, I guess, because that's a successful 360.
Style points, as well as 1 chip off Blanc Ryozaki's shoulder. They now have full time to focus on their own race. As Leikaseas right in front is keeping to challenge Mark Kame.
Yes, it looks like Mark Kame, I think my theory might be true. I think Mark Kame has actually overheated the tires because that gap closed down relatively quick in the last couple of laps. So we'll see. Maybe Mark Kame could have, as I said, overheated their tires. Maybe there's something going on. Maybe Casillas is just, it might be just Casillas' day as Midnight Hurricane comes out the pits.
I think that was because they went for a very early pit stop to repair damage. They now had to do the second pit stop in order to basically do a splash and dash towards the end of the race.
Yeah, that's probably the reason. Because they seem to have lost a bit of ground there to Mark Kame. They're both pushing the boundaries of the track limits there in the Schumacher rest. Those track limits are not as relaxed as these guys are making it out to be. I will admit that. The track limits are not supposed to be this lenient, but I guess the game finds them too cool, so they can get away with it, I guess.
This battle is too interesting for the game to actually give away penalties.
Exactly. both of these guys have been pushing and pushing and pushing, but it seems like Mark has finally gotten back into form. Casillas might have had an issue earlier the lap when we were looking at Hurricane.
And I just want to mention, you saw it lovely there. Mark Kame had a bit of a different line, trying to go for a late apex, whereas Le Casillas kept it rather tidy with a bit of a double apex in the last hairpin. Le Casillas, however, managing to make up a bit of time through these corners here, through the last and first corners of the track. Now a bit closer to Mark Kame yet again.
Yeah, I'd say a late apex might not be ideal on the exit of the final corner. Just because the corner does open up a decent bit on exits, so just taking, you know, a regular, just a standard apex, just a standard racing line, and just getting on the power, taking a bit of curb, and you can pretty much get the same result as a late apex, and just be a lot more stable.
Oh,
And
I think a late apex is quite necessary there, but just in the case of how Le Casillas did it with the double apex, getting close to the wall on the entry as well as on the exit. Basically, you have a few different cars with different settings. I know with front engine cars, it is very good to go for that late apex, either through it only being that single apex or double apex. It is very useful on hairpins, especially around the Nürburgring, as we have Akito Assetto going off. Let's take a look what happened there.
The Chamchulo seemed to be behind Akito, but I don't think that really had anything to do with it. Yep, Akito just losing the rear once again. It's very strange to see Akito struggling with the Lexus. He's usually pretty much the fastest Lexus that we have. That we have seen on IVGTC when we switched to ACC, aside from Psycho Kaiser. He was like, when Psycho Kaiser was racing, him and Akito were pretty much the fastest. Psycho gone, he is the fastest Lexus now, Akito.
I will mention, however, that that crash right there that hit close to home for me, because I remember being in a 1 hour race around the Nürburgring once, and it was basically the second to last lap of the race. I was in a respectable, I think, top 10 position, and I had the exact same thing happening to me there, and
yeah.
Getting out of the point scoring position thanks to that. So obviously there for me everything was a bit closer. Akito Assetto not losing a position in this case. However, now under threat from Midnight Hurricane, who is just under 3 seconds behind Akito Assetto.
Admittedly, you still have to be very careful on the exit of turn 5 there, because the outside curb on there is not your friend at all. That curb has ruined my laps so many times when I was trying to get some data for this weekend. So yeah, I'm not really shocked with Akito getting caught off guard by that. I'm mostly just, you know, kind of shocked at the fact that he's not really able to handle the Lexus as well as he usually does.
Further up ahead we have Le Casillas getting ever closer to Mark Kame. Now onto the start-finish straight they go. I think the BMW has a slight straight line advantage over the Aston Martin.
I believe so, yeah. And as Casillas goes up the inside, but he's very late on the brakes, goes off the track. Mark Kame can just easily pass right back, but Casillas is still right on the bumper as they hit around the Mercedes arena. And they're making sure Mark Kame making sure he's got all the doors closed there. Going out the exit of turn 4 down to turn 5 now.
Got a sense of deja vu there with that Le Casillas overtake. I believe in the early stages of the race he tried the exact same thing and overbraked the exact same way.
Yes. Yeah,
So-
that was actually just a sense of deja. That was deja vu. Where they go around, turn. Hold on a minute. More Nürburgring confusion. Some of these have so some of these count the Mercedes, that little exit of Mercedes Arena as a corner, but some don't.
Huh?
Okay, so I am looking at multiple.
Oh.
I keep bouncing between track maps because some of them are turning out blurry for some reason. And okay, no, it's just this one that I was looking at that for some reason counted the exit of turn 4 as a corner, so it was turn 4, and then turn 5. And then when you say, "Oh, Mark came just hopping the curves there." No time to talk about Nürburgring now. We have to talk about this battle. Mark came just hopping the curves like a turning that Aston Martin into a bunny. Because it's now right off the bumper.
I think the pressure of the Swiss being right behind is now getting to the American as he tried to overtake on the outside. Can he hold it, Le Casillas? It seems like he can, and this is a very favorable position because the next two are left-handers. And Le Casillas can manage to make the overtake stick.
So let's see, Mark goes up the inside, has to brake very hard to avoid Casillas there. This is incredible racing. Mark, once again, taking a late apex, trying to maximize that exit speed right on Casillas' bumper there as they head down to turn 5. And Mark very late on the brakes, both of them cutting that corner there. I'm surprised none of them really spun. That in these front end new cars are very stable. Going around turn 6. So going down into turn 7. There's Mentrix there as a back marker. Let's see if the traffic will cause any issues there. And Mentrix went up. Okay, never mind. It was Casillas and Mark came still bumper to bumper going through the Schumacher-esque. Down to turn 10. Both cars are very even in terms of performance there, in terms of top speed. And Casillas going a bit wide, but Mark also taking a bit of curb, pretty much cancelling each other's mistakes out there as they head down the back straight. Mark does have the slipstream advantage, but I believe the BMW does have the slight top speed advantage, but Casillas does take the curb a little bit, which does screw up a little bit of speed as Mark is very loud on the brakes, almost touching the bumper there, but both hopping the curves into the final corner. So bumper to bumper. I'm struggling to commentate this right now. They're on each other right now. It's incredible.
It is an incredible battle, and there are two battles on track right now. There's also Akito Sagawa defending from Midnight Hurricane further back, 4P11. So let's see if the Honda can take a bit of straight line advantage here on the back straight as we come up to the fast chicane. Like Akito going in for a very defensive line, late to go back onto the racing line, defending their position quite safely.
Straight line battle, the Lexus and the NSX are very, very close.
Yeah.
So when they're going side by side, it's almost impossible for one of them to really overtake unless one of them has a very massive slipstream or corner exit advantage there, as Akito's covering the inside very well. The Hurricane on the outside, they almost touch. Now onto the Mercedes-Benz Arena through turn 2. Hurricane a little bit further back than usual. Hurricane looking to send it up the inside, but backs out of it. Very good call there. That would have not gone well, I don't think. So they exit the Mercedes-Benz Arena out of turn 4, going down to turn 5. Hurricane is right on a very aggressive defending by Akito there through turn 5. Hurricane still on the rear bumper of Akito's Lexus. Turn 6 now heading down to the hairpin. The bottom of the hill hairpin. Can't speak. Hurricane has set up the late apex, but misjudges the steering. Has to fall back a little bit. Akito now has a bit of breathing room to Hurricane there.
And that is good because the battle for P1 is also continuing, where Le Casillas had to fend off Mark Kame last lap and still has to do so.
Those two still in a very tight battle. We have 25 minutes left to go. And these two have been fighting for the entirety of it. It's incredible. As Mark Kame, again, right on the bumper there, maximizing every inch of space available to him just to keep up the pressure on Casillas. But Casillas is not budging in the slightest. He's made a stone as it almost comes together again, has to brake very hard to go, has to resort to a late apex, should give him the advantage on corner exit, but Casillas did seem to have a much smoother line through turn 6. We have Akito spun turn 1. What happened?
The battle with Midnight Hurricane in full throw. Akito Asagawa going very defensive, going on the outside. Oh!
Akito just seemingly not really aware of how close Hurricane was, and just kind of like seemingly turned towards Hurricane. I wouldn't say it was like intentionally trying to ram, but it seemed like maybe he tried to push Hurricane out on corner exit. Might have just tried to steer out a bit earlier than he should have. I'm not really sure. Stewards have to look at the replay on that.
They're not gonna have fun with that, I can tell you that much. Further up ahead, we have Mark Kame still challenging Le Casillas.
I feel like at this point, the nerves have to start to be, rising for Mark. These two have been fighting endlessly, as we've already said, as I've personally said a dozen times now. These two have been fighting the entire race. I have a feeling Mark is starting to feel the nerves. Maybe get a bit frustrated not being able to pass Casillas. But there's still 20 minutes to go, so if there's any nerves rising, he probably should take care of that, because he has lost a couple of tenths there across the previous lap to Casillas. It seems like we have a back marker in the way. I believe that's Gary Slater in the way of Casillas.
It is Gary Slater. Not quite in the way yet. Will probably be lapping opportunities in the upcoming straights.
Probably after turn 11 onto the back straight, I think, is when that's going to happen. Through the Schumacher S there. It looks like Mark not really having a good entry, which does affect the exit of the Schumacher S's as well.
Ooh, Le Casillas almost missing the apex there. A meter away from it is not the most optimal line there already, but you can see pushing, and Moritz Reiniger has a drive-through penalty, presumably for track limit infringement. Yes,
and here we go. Mark Kame with the slipstream, still cannot really get anything done. Both of them just hopping that little white curve there on the apex. Just that curve is probably going to be flattened out by the time this race is done. With how many times these guys are just going over it again. I'm surprised that thing hasn't lost its color yet, to become gray with all the rubber that's being laid on it, with how many times these guys have run over it.
They are really taking every centimeter that is possible to be taken without getting too heavily off track. The curbs, of course, part of the track, as most people are always concerned. Some curbs, however, quite steep, quite dangerous to take. These people, they are in their prime. They know which curbs they can take. This is not one of them, for example. However, they're not taking it as well. Here on the exit, however, lovely. You'll love to see it taking almost all of the green strip next to the road there. trying to maximize the exit, and
Whoa.
Constantina had an effect on here.
Mark very late on the brakes, almost rear-ending Casillas. I don't know how that would have gone as they now go through the Schumacher S's. It seems like Mark might be struggling with his tires because he's taking the Schumacher S's very strangely there as they head through turn 10 into turn 11 onto the back straight now. Mark is a little further back, so I don't know if he's gonna have enough of a slipstream to really catch back up to Casillas enough to maybe go maybe do a move into the final corner, but it doesn't really seem like it. The slipstream seems to really fall off after around half a second of a gap, even though I believe the slipstream extends out to about I think about a second is where the slipstream really extends to.
Honestly, I have no idea how ACC does it. I know GT Sport has 1.5 seconds, for example.
Yeah.
Some simulations or games are more lenient in that regard. ACC is not one of the more lenient ones, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't really feel like the slipstream is like not. The slipstream is very, I would say, I don't know if it's realistic, but it's definitely not strong as other games. At least from what I've been able to see, there have been instances where I could get a better exit or from the car in front of me, be in the slipstream, and the car still just pulls away down the straight, even though I'm in the slipstream. But it looks like Mark is close enough to maximize every bit of slipstream now. I think that is a close enough of a gap to have slipstream.
It is definitely close enough. It's only about 2.5 tenths separating the two as they come into turn 10-11. Is that, I believe?
Yes, that is going through turn 11 now, exiting. They both have a relatively tight exit. I've never really seen them take the outside curb. And honestly, that's not one of the dangerous curves either. Maybe they just don't want to really risk it because that is raised up. That's not a flat curb.
You mean the outside curb on turn 11?
Yeah.
It's not the most dangerous, but if you go on it, you definitely lose some time when you go onto the straight, because there is not too much grip on there, so you need more grip that you get only from the tarmac in order to maximize the acceleration onto the straight.
Oh no, so there's a possibility that I've been losing a couple of times. So Markim looks up the inside but has to back right out there. Knows that is way too big of a gap to really dive it up the inside for. Now around the Mercedes-Benz Arena right now, Mark just has to hope that Casillas just has a poor exit. Mark just taking advantage of all the track and then even past it. That was past the white line there. That's supposed to be the track on it.
That was dangerously wide, and I fear these two are going to keep pushing really until either one makes a harsh mistake. Akito Suzugawa having a quick yellow flag. Let's take a look what happened there. Both of them will be keeping to push for the entire race. Oh! Getting a bit unsettled into the chicane there.
Yeah, the rear just stepping out on Akito there. I don't know. I think he might have worn out his rear tires a lot more than he might have thought he had. As we go through the Schumacher S, once again, there is 16 minutes left in this race. These two have been battling for 52 laps. And we have Victor Masato.
Seems like this is pretty much the same crash that Akito Suzugawa had early in the race.
Yeah, but
going wide. Yeah,
dramatic.
just touching the grass on the outside, and you know that unsettles the car immensely.
Especially when something, especially a mid-engine car. The mid-engine cars in this game are very sensitive on curves. So that had an even more dramatic effect than it did for Akito. I don't know if maybe Victor did slow down enough to not have any major damage because it seems like he's still running fine. So I think he might have just gotten a scratch on the bumper at best, even though that was a head-on collision with the barrier there.
Let's hope the damage just isn't too bad. Further up ahead, we have another battle. A new battle now. Blanc Ryuzaki within the range of Merkur VR. The battle for 5th position is now going to happen as well, it seems.
Yes, I believe the BMW does have the speed advantage compared to the Audi, but I believe the Audi is kind of faster on the corners, I think.
Okay, the Audi is very good in cornering speed, not very good in cornering stability. So there's the danger. There's basically a higher danger when you drive the Audi that you're not going to make the corner.
Yeah.
Because it's much harder to set it up perfectly to fit for every corner around a racetrack, as compared to the BMW, who just has a much, safer base setting.
The BMW itself is just a very stable car in general. That thing, I will admit, when I was driving that thing, I felt like I was gonna go to sleep. I will admit that. That thing was very boring to drive, but how stable it is. You're not really, like, I don't think a driver really likes to fight the car, but I think that's part of the excitement, which is what really is just not there with the M4. You're not really, you know, it doesn't feel like you're driving, a race car. It feels like you're just driving, a grocery getter, like a little family hatchback. It just happens to go 260 kilometers an hour down the back straight of Nürburgring.
Fair enough. I'm not sure how BMW would think about that sentiment. However,
I mean, that's
sure.
coming from a fan.
Let's look at the positives of that, which is the BMW is a very stable car. That is the takeaway that we should all take away. Not that it's a grocery getter, not that it's a family hatchback. However, Markheim is coming ever closer to Le Castellas now, within the range to attack. Oh, they're concertinating together. There's mere centimeters between the bumpers of these two. Markheim getting a bit unsettled here on the exit, however.
Yeah, it looks like Markheim is just now pushing and pushing even more. I think Mark realizes he doesn't even have that much time left. He has around 6 laps at most right now to make the move stick. And right now he has to push. He has to push. I think he has to push now, or he just backs out, which I don't think he's gonna do. Both of these guys both know they have the capability of winning here, their final race in IBGTC. So they want to get that final win as a sim racer, the win that will probably matter the most to them.
I have just thought of the perfect commentator's curse. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it.
Will you say it after the race?
I could say it after the race if I remember it in about 12 minutes time. However, there are two more battles now on the track. There's also Akito Asasagawa right on the rear of Victor Masato. And it seems like they're almost side by side. Akito Asasagawa right there. But the Honda is wide.
The Honda is a lot wider than it looks, yeah. And the Lexus itself is also just very wide in general as well. That thing, they're both chunky.
That was
close. Just on the bumper there, I think just nudging Victor a little bit, going now side by side. I don't know which car is going to have the advantage. These things are pretty similar when it comes to top speed. But it looks like Victor might have the edge.
It seems like Akito has the edge because he's now on the inside. Let's see, do they catch the braking point? Yes, perfectly on the apex for Akito Asakawa. That overtake was stuck to the curb beautifully by the VTuber from France.
Kato, getting a little bit loose there on the exit of the Mercedes arena, down to turn 5. It seems like Akito really has been wearing out those rear tires a lot more than he would have expected himself to. And it seems like it's coming back to bite him. But it looks like the move has stuck. There's a bit of a gap between Akito and Victor now, but it's still not enough for him to really take a breath yet as we go back to Mark Kame and like I say as into
He
lap
goes for it.
56. Mark Kame goes for the dive. Is too wide. Casillas gets to switch back, but Mark is on the inside. They're side by side through turn 2. In the Mercedes arena, Mark side by side again. They touch. Casillas spins. And Mark slows down, lets Casillas pass. Incredible sportsmanship. But it also does goes to show how much of a gap they have to Reska Kyoso. Just being able to stop on track.
It will be at this point where I say what I thought about the earlier commentator's curse.
Yes.
Would have been that Mark came in his eagerness to overtake, goes too far and takes out both of them, allowing Reska Kyoso to win. Who knew that commentators' curses can not only appear through talking now, but also in a weaker form through just thinking them.
Yeah, you cannot even think about the curse. You have to just say stuff and make sure you're not saying the curse. If you even think about the curse, it's gonna happen. And now I'm thinking about a curse on both these top 2 drivers. No, I'm not.
Oh no. Anyways, Blonde Ryuzaki is on the rear, pretty much off Merca VR right now. They are... Who's that in front? Is that...
Those are,
Masato.
I believe...
That is Victor Masato right in front of them. And Akito Asakawa, who are a lap down to Merca VR and Blonde Ryuzaki. So let's see, the blue flags should be coming out soon. Will there be any kerfuffle here between Merca VR and Victor Masato?
I am not sure. If...
Blue flags are out. We see them on the side of the track.
Okay, the blue flags are out. I would assume Victor does know the blue flags are there now. If I had to guess, Victor, has to just let him pass now, I think. Yep, backs out of it, obviously.
Blonde Ryuzaki not able to immediately capitalize on it. Blonde Ryuzaki having to take the blue flag, presumably on this upcoming straight here. This all is not helping Victor Masato, who, of course, is following Akito Asakawa, who now quite ahead, thanks to this blue flag situation.
Is Mark Kame 2 seconds down, or is it just the thing that hasn't updated yet?
No, Mark Kame is 2 seconds down. That was due to them stopping on the track to let Casillas pass again.
Oh.
So
I guess Casillas wins. Maybe.
Well,
I mean,
we'll have to see. There's still three more laps to go, and
yeah, about 3.5. Yeah.
Earlier in the race, Mark Kame lapped a second a lap quicker than Casillas at times. So we know the pace theoretically is there. But we'll have to see about that.
From what I've been able to tell, the BMW seems to be much better on the tires compared to pretty much everything else on the track so far. It's just comparing how easy the BMW, the M4 drivers can push, and there's metrics off the track. I believe that is the exit of the Schumacher House? Oh no, that's the exit
that's the fast chicane.
Yeah, the fast chicane. Yeah.
Is there a name for the fast chicane? Can you look that up real quick, please?
I've looked. There's multiple names for it. There is the... Okay, so one of them calls it the Vidal.
Lidl. Ah.
The
Well-
And another call to the NGK chicane. What do I go off of here? Also, the Castrol S is for the layout that cuts the Mercedes arena out. By the way, so that's the Castrol S. That's turn 1 basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's
Oh well.
oh well.
It seems like there is currently no direct battle. Everything seems to have been sorted out quite a bit. Mark Kane is really pushing to catch back up to Leicester. Again, invalidated the current lap. The same counts for Blanc Ryuzaki, who invalidated the last lap, trying to again catch back up to Mercu VR after during this still blue flag kerfuffle, as we see Mercu VR right on the tail basically of Akito Asasagawa, who should be blue flagged by this point.
Yeah, and this is a very awkward situation actually, because Akito and Merker are similarly quick drivers. They have relatively equal lap times, so it's going to be very difficult for Merker to pass, I think.
Yeah, and one thing I can say, however, as Mark Kane comes closer, there must have been a mistake for Leicester.
Right at the inside, on the final corner, there's traffic right in front. There's Trazione, and there's also
Mark Kane pushes Leicester into the back marker. They make it 3 wide, just barely.
Trazione has to avoid Casillas, and there's multiple back markers. There's Isaac going into Champ Chulet in the background there as Mark overtakes Casillas again. They're bumper to bumper through the Mercedes arena. We have 3 minutes left. There's a lap and a half at best to go through now.
And
if there's going to be moves, that has to happen now.
Mark Kane has made it stick. What happened to Leicester there? Leicester must have had some trouble through the fast chicane.
That has to be it. That delta came from 1.5 seconds to nothing. Instantly.
Let's see, the last lap was the last lap for Leicester was 1:58.85. Yeah, that was pretty much a 2-second mistake right at the end of the lap there. But Mark Kane able to capitalize on it. Now in the lead for one of the last laps of the race.
Yes, there's about 2 laps to go now. There's this lap, and then the next lap will be the final lap, lap 60. We are almost done with this season. We have 2 laps to go, and then season 6 will be over, and then we'll be back in 3 weeks for season 7. But right now, let's not worry about season 7. Let's see if Casillas can catch back up in the last 2 minutes.
There will not be ample opportunity, I can tell you that much already. Leicester will have to put everything into this. Oh yes, this is just barely one last lap now. They are in the last lap of the race. There will not be a lap after this. If Leicester wants to have that final history-making last win of the VTuber X Sim Racer, well, time.
Yes.
It will have to be done this lap.
As we have said before, these two are fighting for possibly their most important win of their time in IVGTC. The final win that any sim racer will have in IVGTC. This matters more than possibly any other win that a sim racer has done in history of IVGTC. Because it's the final one. There will be no more sim racers that will be winning an IVGTC race. As we go around halfway into lap 60, Casillas just doesn't seem like he has the pace anymore.
Again, like the last few laps, both of them have already invalidated their laps. They are pushing to the limit.
seems like I think Casillas did get a bit of a slightly better exit on the Schumacher, just casually cutting turn 10 there. That didn't even look like a cheeky little hop onto the curb. That was just blatant cutting. My God.
Oh god. There's
If
only
the
one more opportunity. Basically, it is the fast chicane. If Mark Haim takes this sovereign, I don't know the word, takes it well, it looks like he has taken it well. One last try for the cutback, however. The start-finish line is coming soon.
The leader has finished the race.
And the leader has finished the race. Everyone! Mark Kame has won the last race of Season 6 IVGTC in first position, directly followed by Le Casillas, the record race winner, sim racer of the IVGTC for the last time of them all racing together. Trazione Integrale just casually going for bowling.
I don't blame Trazi after what had happened 2 laps ago. Having to basically be forced off the track because Mark was holding Casillas behind Trazione. I don't really blame Trazi for that. I think that was just coming at this point. Either way, what an incredible 2-hour-long clash of the titans. There is no other way to put it. Mark Kane and Nick Casillas. Just incredible fighting. We have never seen something this insane. I think the last time we have been this hype was in the 69 minutes of Spa when Amelia Anderson was just cutting through the field. I believe on her debut. I believe that's when Amelia was first racing with us. Her first race. She was cutting through the field and we were hype about that. And that was the last time we've been this hype as we have been now. Mark came and Casillas delivering a 2-hour-long battle, an incredible battle, constant back and forths. That both of them pushing the track to its absolute limit, pushing their cars and their tires and their fuel to the absolute limit. There's no other way to really put things.
This was surely an incredible showing by both Mark Haim and Le Casillas. Le Casillas having had the purple lap, however, Mark Haim being overall more consistent. Well, apart from that one incident where they let each other pass again. But, yeah, I'm sure the stewards will look over that and take everything into account, even the letting pass there. So, we have Mark Kane finishing in front of Le Casillas, Reska Kyoso making up 3rd place on the podium, Kagura Zaka in 4th, Blanc Ryuzaki in 5th, Williams Johnson in 6th, Jörg in 7, Reiniger in 8, Hurricane in 9, Masato in 10, Slater in 11, Night Fury 34 in 12, Dubrovka in 13, Chamcholo in 14, 13, 14, whatever, Mesa Ambra after that, Mentrix, and then Trazione Integrale, as people are already leaving the server. And this has been a history-making season for TRACC and for IVGTC. Today, after all, is also the 2-year anniversary of the first event that TRACC.eu has ever hosted, and I don't think we could have wished for a much better anniversary than this incredible race between two of the greatest drivers this racing series have ever seen. So I want to thank you all of the watchers. I want to thank you, Ivano, for having been at my side for many of the races over the last few seasons. And of course, I want to thank all of the racers as well for making these races as incredible as they have been to watch. Any last words, Ivano, for this season?
Well, there is not really much to say that hasn't already been said. We were we came into here not really sure on what to expect for the final time that sim racers will ever race in IVGTC, and we got a golden battle. I believe this will be remembered for however many years the track and IVGTC will exist. This battle will be. It is legendary. It will be considered legendary, I think, and I couldn't have imagined a better way to end off a season than that. And all I can say is, I'll see you guys in season 7.
For me too. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. Thank you very much, everyone, for racing. We will see each other hopefully soon on the racetrack. Goodbye.